Let me start with you, Senator. Given how tight the polling overall has been, given this could be the last debate of this election season, what are the stakes tonight, and who do you think has more pressure?
Well, they both have a lot of pressure. And listen, this is a country that still doesn't know these two guys very well. I think they still have to do some work in terms of introducing themselves. But the contrast is significant. You've got a Yale hedge fund guy who got to the Senate on the back of a billionaire writing check for, I don't know what it was, 30 million, 15 or $30 million to put him in the Senate, versus a high school teacher, coach, the guy who was in charge of making sure the lunchroom operated okay at the high school, and somebody who's very comfortable talking about changing the oil on his truck. So it is a contrast of style. It's a contrast of tone, I think. Yeah. J.D. Vance always kind of talks down to everybody like he's the smartest guy in the room, whereas Tim Walz is very relatable. And I think it's wise for Tim Walz to focus on that tone, to make sure that he is relatable and yes, that ugly word likable that we like to throw around when it's debate time. But I think that's important tonight because I think the country needs to be comfortable with Tim Walz.
Well, look, they both have been attack dogs on the trail. They both come from Midwestern states. They both have military backgrounds. Simone, how much will be about reintroducing themselves in tonight's debate versus carrying on that attack dog role?
Well, you know, usually the goal of a vice presidential debate is do no harm, stick to the top of the ticket's message, and contrast. Like you're going in as the running mate candidate, if you will, to bolster the presidential candidate, to say always mentioning their name. It's less about the person in that seat, those two people on the stage there, and more about the folks that are at the top of the ticket. But I think this is a little different. You know, there's a 1998 Temptations NBC series, a famous line from there says, you know, the David Ruffin character played by Leon says, ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. And usually nobody's coming to see the VP candidates, right? People, conventional wisdom will say, oh, this is really about the top of the ticket. But this is a lot about the two men standing on that stage tonight. J.D. Vance has been at the forefront of some of the most inflammatory and I would argue racist and conspiratorial and very problematic comments and controversies in this election cycle. Specifically what he has said about his own constituents in Springfield who are Haitian. And that is something he is going to have to account for. Governor Walz, they're coming in. I think much was trying to be, Claire said this morning, you know, people try to paint Governor Walz as a progressive in flannel, you know, like a flaming progressive just puts on a flannel every day, and trying to distort the record that he has as governor of Minnesota. So there are going to be some things that they have to account for themselves. I think you're going to see attacks, but at the end of the day, because this could potentially be the last debate, they are really going to have to hammer home the policy of the candidates that they are representing. And the economy is top of mind for every single voter, white, black, Latino, Native American, Asian American, Pacific Islander, and otherwise.
That's what all the polls, all the focus groups and these, you know, different surveys that we've seen have shown. You talk about likability, Senator, and this recent NBC News poll found Vance is one of the least liked VP candidates in decades. 45% of registered voters saying they view him negatively, 32% positively. And I'm just learning from a phone call with Donald Trump just now with NBC News. He said Vance doesn't need any advice tonight. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that J.D. Vance has a problem with women. And I think the things he has said before the spotlight was on him to the extent it is now are really revealing about how he views women. I think it's really interesting that he's lectured women about staying in marriages, even if they're violent, while he's running with a guy who changed wives like other men change shirts. You know, always, you know, Trump was very comfortable with adultery, going for a younger, prettier wife and getting a new one. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance wants to lecture women to stay in marriages that are violent. That's quite a contrast, and it's really tone deaf when it comes to women of America and how they should be talked about and treated. And I think his comments, he's going to have to live with tonight. And I bet Tim Walz has a way to bring him up with a smile on his face and a twinkle in his eye.
Simone, what do you see as the biggest vulnerability for Walz here?
Look, I frankly don't think that the answer Governor Walz gave in the CNN interview that he did with Vice President Harris on his military record was great. He has a great answer. It wasn't delivered well in that CNN interview, and he hasn't done an interview since. But has in the last 24, 48 hours, I think, has done some plain side press with the folks who are traveling with him, which I think is very important. But I think that if they're going to attack Governor Walz, the Trump campaign and J.D. Vance on that stage, he might try to do so on his military record. And I think he has to have a very strong answer, push, and pivot back to the issues. I think that's one of the biggest vulnerabilities. I actually don't think his record as governor is vulnerability at all, because what he has done as governor, make sure children have food to eat at school so that they can learn, protect women's reproductive autonomy, that they can make their own decisions, provide tampons and sanitary products for young girls in schools so that you don't have an embarrassing moment. So again, they can be focused on their learning. One of the top 5 states for business. I mean, sounds American and good to me. So I just think that what is viewed as a vulnerability is actually a strength there. But he is going to have to ensure that at the end of the day, you're talking about Vice President Kamala Harris, okay? You want to walk out of a VP debate. The last time I prepped for a VP debate with Vice President Harris when she was a senator, it's like, okay, we want Joe Biden to feel good about this when it's over. We want to get that good phone call that says, she hit all the marks. And that's what I think both of the candidates should want at the end of this debate.